miss this gun. If you need a tool that can do it all, then the Eruptor is the perfect 15mm boot for stamping out the enemies of humanity. My name is Commissar Kai, and today I'm going to be giving y'all everything you need to take on any challenge using democracy's bolt gun, now with heavy penetration. Now I know the average Helldiver's attention span is shorter than our life expectancy on the battlefield, so take your super Ritalin and pay attention, cadets. It's time for Freedom School.
Yeah, oh, hang on. I want to hit that Eruptor. Okay, it's got to be 2. It's 2.
Yeah, boy.
2 shots kills it.
When you look at the Eruptor, 2 things should immediately jump out at you. The whopping 455 damage and the heavy penetration. But this doesn't tell the whole story. The projectile of the Eruptor only does 230 damage, with the explosion doing the remaining 225. But on top of those 2 numbers, the Eruptor also comes packed to the brim with shrapnel, which is AP3 and does 110 damage per piece of shrapnel. I asked one of my more unstable fleet commanders to count how many pieces of shrapnel each round had, and the total wound up at a whopping 3,330 damage. Damn. That's a lot. Thanks, Ervin. Which, given what you're about to see in this video...
Oh my god, the Eruptor one-taps a tank in the vent. That is absurd.
Yeah.
Ain't that surprising. So to recap, this beast of a gun does 230 projectile damage at AP4, 225 explosive damage at AP3. I know if you wanted to learn numbers you never would have put on your cape, but we're almost done. And 3,300 shrapnel damage at AP3, spread out in a sphere when the round detonates. All this to say, it hits really, really hard. But I wanted to run y'all through the numbers so you don't get confused when you can't one-shot a Hulk's faceplate. When fired at a Hulk's eye slit, it will take 2 shots despite their face only having 250 communist HP. This is because only the projectile has an AP of 4. So your explosion and shrapnel damage bounce right off while the projectile is able to penetrate through. There's other factors like how durable any given part is, but even I'm getting bored at this point, so I'll just leave those explanations to the other fleet commanders. Aside from firing heavy penetrating G6 frags at quote-unquote people, it also comes with something called demolition force, meaning it can close bug holes and pop bot fabricators. Its weighty shots also have a ton of stagger force, so you can stop devastators from shredding you to pieces or knock around a harvester before it reduces you to ashes. The point is, the Eruptor doesn't only have damage to lean on, it also has a ton of utility to add to a team, in addition to the raw might that it brings to the battlefield. It's the ultimate gap filler in loadouts because it can do everything pretty good. It's not great at killing things like Hulks, but the fact that it can means you have a lot more space in your loadout for other things. This ain't even mentioning the great scope and the new change to make the shells go farther before they explode. The Eruptor used to have a max range of 127 meters, which was verified by Gundam Boy. If you're watching, I feel your pain. But now it's closer to about 185 meters. Now that you've heard the good, let's talk about the bad and how you can compensate for it. The Eruptor hits like a mule, but it also handles like one. Dragging this cannon across your screen and lining up a shot takes both patience and a bit of luck. It also takes forever to rack a new round into the chamber, so standing still and firing it over and over is not the best way to use it. You can fire it a bit faster with an exploit, but frankly you don't need to anymore with how hard this thing hits, and I don't really want to feed exploits. Here's what it looks like. It only has a 5-round magazine and the reload animation is also pretty dang long. You are carrying a cannon on your hip, and it behaves like one. Thankfully, there's a few things we can do to make it a bit easier to aim, or make it easier to lob more rounds at the freedom haters. First off, since I hadn't said it already, you will need the Democratic Detonation War Bond to unlock the Eruptor. To make it easier to handle, you'll also need the Viper Commandos War Bond to get access to the Peak Physique Armor Passive. This armor passive will make it much easier to swing your prize rooster around, and since it takes an entire year to rack a new round, the recoil ain't an issue. However, if you don't care about your weapon handling like a freedom bus, then grab the Urban Legends War Bond for the Siege Ready Armor Passive. This passive grants you extra reload speed and additional magazines, so you can throw more explosive Coke bottles at the enemy. These 2 armor passives can make the Eruptor feel much better to use, but I do want to stress that they are not required to get the most out of the gun. So if you're facing down the new incineration core on the bot front, you can safely strap on your inflammable armor without worrying about making your primary worse. course. Why the hell does inflammable mean more easy to set on fire? English is stupid. Now let's get to the fun part. How to use it to turn the enemies of humanity into confetti. We'll start off with the bots since they're getting uppity with their stupid new cookout core. Against the clankers, you need a weapon that can handle devastators and rocket striders, both in packs and on their own. You can either do this through area of effect weapons or with weapons that are very precise for those headshots and junk shots respectively. The Eruptor can now do both. It's pretty accurate with its excellent scope and extended range, but the projectile is kinda slow, so make sure you account for that. You used to need to fire 2 shots at both of these enemy types to bring them down, but now, as long as you don't hit the Devastator in its armored chest from long range, it will take any flavor of them down in just a single hit. Same applies to the Rocket Strider. Hit them once in the junk, and they'll keel over screaming in pain until they expire. Heavy Devastators, also known as those assholes, will require 2 shots if you aim for their shield, but hit them pretty much anywhere else and they'll fold like a cadet taking on their first super base. Hulks you can take out in 2 eye shots or 2 shots to their backside. This sounds incredibly powerful, but remember that the Eruptor don't discriminate. Firing it at close range is more dangerous than a Ghost Diver not under NDA.
Mustard gas motivates them.
Mustard gas would be a strong motivator, I think.
So it won't save you from a Flamer Hulk running you down. The last thing I want to mention for this front is that the Eruptor can take down the Stratagem Scrambler on the backs of the new Convoy Factory Striders. This is a pretty niche use and you might be able to use any medium pin weapon to do it, but the fact that it can is good to know. Moving swiftly on to the Socialist Animals. Bile Spears and Alpha Commanders are some of the most annoying enemy types on this front, but I am thrilled to report to y'all that the Eruptor can now blow both of them to pieces with just a single headshot.
Oh, hang on. I gotta see if this one taps. Oh, it does! He just turns into confetti!
If you play on a difficulty with Alpha Commanders, then you know how hard it can be to deal with them. They spawn a ton of adrenaline-fueled warriors and can tank a lot of damage. Plus, normally, when you pop their head off, they'll run at you and try to tear you to pieces before they eventually bleed out. But not with the Eruptor. One headshot at close-ish range with this thing will cause them to explode into confetti, bypassing their death rage. With the new extended range on the shells, you can also snipe out packs of Bile Spears before they get a chance to fart socialism all over you. It's still not great at popping charger butts compared to something like the Scorcher, but it can do it with about 4 shells or a lot less if you can bounce it under them. But I've never really been able to make that work, so you won't see it here. It's also still great at wiping out packs of hunters and other chaff as long as they're not too close to you. The shrapnel and explosive damage will shred anything warrior-sized or smaller, so you don't need to worry about actually landing the shell on the target. Firing at the ground near them will do the trick. The Eruptor's utility really shines on this front though. It's much easier to lob a shell down a bug hole than it is to hit one down the chute of a fabricator or cracking the clams of the squids. Meaning dealing with superness and heaviness is much easier with the Eruptor compared to something like the grenade launcher or the explosive crossbow. Speaking of squids, the Eruptor is, surprise, really good at turning them into calamari. It has the explosive damage and shrapnel for the hordes of Oatless. It can crack open their spawners with ease. It'll 2-hit Overseers if you hit them in the body or blow their head off with a single shell. Plus, even if the grounded Overseers pull up their stupid flashy shields, the damage of the Eruptor mostly just goes straight through it. It won't crack the shield, but who cares when the user is a pile of liberated goo at your feet. And most importantly, it can stagger the crap out of Harvesters. At close range, it'll take down their shields with just a single hit, and you can finish them off with a few rounds to their hip joints. But if you don't have the time for a precise shot, hit them anywhere, and they'll get staggered out of their attack animation, meaning you can easily save your teammates from getting barbecued. It's not great at handling Watchers since they move around a lot and the shell is very slow, but if you do hit them, they'll explode. I wish there was more to cover against this faction, but they only have 4 enemy types, so your Eruptor is more than capable of handling this entire faction. Just bring something for really close range so you don't explode yourself. Now let's move on to how the Freedom Cannon fits into your loadouts for different factions. The Eruptor has oodles of utility, stagger, demolition force, and damage. But its rate of fire, projectile speed, and the inability to be used at really close range means we need to fill those gaps. Against the bots, especially the new Incineration Core, I really enjoyed pairing it with the HMG, Supply Pack, Rocket Sentry, and some form of Orbital Barrage. The 120 and Orbital Napalm really stuck out to me, but any area of effect bombardment will do the trick. For our grenade slot, we're bringing gas, but if you don't have chemical agents yet, I would recommend stuns or just G6 frags for those of you in the beginning of your Helldiving career. The sidearm is up to you, but I really liked using the Verdict or the Senator. Our HMG is for bringing down hulks that are a bit too close, gunship since our Eruptor struggles with hitting them, and generally acting as a second primary weapon. The supply pack will make sure we never run out of ammo, stims, or grenades, and the rest of our loadout is for clearing the field after bot drops. On bugs, our Eruptor has Alpha Commanders, Bile Spears, and Bug Holes handled, but it is going to struggle a bit if we allow the bugs to close the distance. To make up for that, we're going to pair it with a new and improved Stalwart and Thermite grenades. Just these 3 weapons cover everything the bugs have except for Bile Titans. So to handle these stilted freaks, we're going to be bringing the 500 kg and Rocket Sentry. Paired with our Thermite grenades, we should be able to handle whatever comes our way, but we will excel at Horde Clear, which is most of bug missions anyway. Oh, one quick note I forgot to mention. The Eruptor appears to absolutely slaughter Impalers. I'm not sure why, but it felt like 2 to 3 hits was making them faceplant into the ground. It's probably that 3,330 damage shrapnel hitting their giant face if I had to guess, but I ain't confirmed it yet, so y'all let me know. For our last stratagem, you can either bring the supply pack or the stink bug. Supply pack will mean you have a lot more thermites and you will never run out of ammo for your Stalwart, but the gas dog will give you more space to work with, so the choice is really up to you. Squids is pretty straightforward. Bring the Stalwart for the floating overseers and to finish off any that you hit with the Eruptor, plus it will also act as a lawnmower for the hordes of Oatless and for chipping away at shields. You can bring the supply pack if you want, but there is an absolute abundance of ammo on these city maps, so it ain't required. Instead, you can bring a couple of sentries like the MG or rocket varieties and or the Tesla Tower. This is still a super underrated stratagem on Squid since it can completely lock out a city street from Voteless and Overseers. The only thing that can even really hurt it is Harvesters, so if you protect it from them, you'll stack up those kill counts. Just for the sake of consistency, here's the full loadout. Eruptor, sidearm of choice. I really like the stun baton, but that's more for my amusement than because it's super good. Grenade of choice. I recommend gas for hordes or secret grenades for the floating overseers. Stalwart for a support weapon. The MG Sentry and Tesla Towers for controlling space. And 1 guard dog of your choice. The bullet dog really hates overseers, so bring him along if they're giving you trouble. I normally cover more team play based strategies and tactics on my channel. I like to encourage Helldivers to work together and to make new friends. So if you'd like to be a part of something like that, consider enlisting in my Division of Commandos. We are the largest and most active independent group of Helldivers in the fleet, and we're always happy to show newbies the ropes. But if you want to see more content like this, meaning deep dives on individual weapons, like the video and let me know in the comments along with what you think deserves my attention. But until next time, this is Commissar Kai, signing out.
Stem yourself and go in. I'm going in for the lead one.
Re-stemming.
Hellbomb's armed.
I'm armed.
They got me. They kept
Hellbomb's
staggering
dropped.
me.
I'm
so
going for Shady's.
And I'm toast.
Oh,
Oh,
we got
there goes 1.
3 of them, I
There
think.
goes 2.
Did you arm your Hellbomb?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, we did it!
That's
There
it.
we go!
Let's do it,
That's
boys.
Fuck you,
Well done.
robots!